the philosophies and crazy thoughts that potters get around and talk about, the weirdest crap you'd ever want to know. But talking about skin on a pot, and you know, what do you guys consider to be the skin of a piece of pottery? I mean, we know it's on the outside, but is it the glaze? Is it the glazed surface, or is it the freshly thrown surface?
I think it's a freshly thrown surface.
Okay. I think that you know what Mr. Robison wants to hear. You think about the skin of something and the freshness. I mean, think about a baby, how soft and fresh a baby's skin is. Think about, you know, how about like the skin on perfectly ripe fruit, something like that. You know, something flawless, something visually tactile. And pottery can have that too, and it can lose that pretty quickly as well. So the freshly thrown surface, it has a particular look to it, but I'll tell you in a second how you can amend that look. Okay, there you go. My favorite ice cream bowl. But I guess you could have cereal out of it if you had to, or pho, or if you just had to eat grape nuts. Okay, so that's a freshly thrown surface, right? I believe we can all attest that this was freshly thrown. It looks a great deal different. You know, my finger marks are there. Granted, I don't really throw with a lot of finger marks. But if I change the surface this way. So what have I done?
Taking off the first layer of skin.
Yeah, I removed that throwing slip that was there, right? So I've opened up, and this raku clay is brilliant for displaying this because it's so groggy. It's fairly bulletproof clay, but it don't much like it. But yeah, I've exposed the pores of the clay. Those little grog points, when they move away, they leave a hole behind. I don't know, anybody think that's important? How would that be a metaphor for wonderfulness as an English major? How would,
that it's imperfect?
holy? Imperfect, huh? It's holy. Yeah. It's holy.
I just, for me, it's like you just, once you get everything the way that you know that it should be and the way that it feels, it just makes you feel good, because it's like, I've done everything is where it should be. I don't know how to exactly put it into words.
Okay.
Is that where you're going?
Well, there's no answer. I mean, this is an aesthetic. This is merely an aesthetic viewpoint. Tactily, when you hold it, it's going to have a great deal different, and the glaze adheres differently to it. You know, you can set and fettle this stuff to the nth degree, but the moment you cover it with a thick, opaque glaze, all that's gone anyway. You've covered that all up. So if you were going to wood fire this in a big Onigama kiln, a big wood fire kiln, or an American groundhog kiln, or whatever, where you put this in naked, and then the Japanese say you give this back to the earth. You're giving this back over to the elements. So you take this pot and you put it in the kiln, you fire it for, you know, umpteen days. Sometimes I read about a kiln recently that was part of the, it was a big climbing kiln in Korea that they fired for 48 days straight. that's a lot of wood, you know. But you're giving it back, and it's being transformed into something else, right? So you worked with it now, and you give it back over to the elements. Well, in that wood firing process, the chemistry in the wood, the smoke, the gases, the boiled down products of a tree, the phosphorus, the silica, the whatever is in that tree, the ash attaches to these pots, and wood ash actually melts into glass at around 2,300 degrees, and that's where the glaze comes from. So the cool thing is it's not very deep. Okay, so it becomes part of the clay. It doesn't cover the clay. Now in our situation, mine as a modern functional potter, is not everybody wants that in their house. Sometimes it's really dry surface. It's kind of difficult. It's difficult to appreciate in our modern aesthetic of sanitation. It's vitrified, so it's completely waterproof, right? It's not going to absorb water. It's glass-like, but it doesn't have a surface that says to Mr. and Mrs. America that we can clean that very easily, although you can. You know, we like considerations do we need with this?
Needs a handle.
Needs a handle. Maybe, right? Not if it's this size. If it was like
Maybe
to hold a gallon of lemonade, it would definitely need a handle. Maybe sometimes two. I've seen big pictures with a bale handle and a bag handle. A lid, maybe? Okay.
The spout, you need to make sure that it will pour a little bit, not too much, that it will overrun.
Right, right. And you don't want to, there's a big difference out of pouring out of this and pouring out of this, right? And you want everything kind of funnel there. Now, there is a certain way that these lips are supposed to have kind of a sharp point here. Just a smidge of a sharp point to cut that, when you pull it back, it's so that it cuts the flow off. And now teapots are like that too. Now when you're designing a teapot spout, you can't have one that the base of it's like this and then it tapers all the way up to, say, like a number 2 pencil, because you've just made a high pressure water laser. You guys use the handle on a mug when you have a mug, or do you just reach out and grab the mug?
I use the handle.
It depends on where I am.
Oh,
Depends
really?
on how hot the
Mug is.
beverage is.
Yeah,
I've
It's
learned a
too
couple
hot.
times at the hard way.
Now,
What?
once again, you know, why do we want a handle on a mug?
It's fancy.
It's fancy.
But so we don't burn our hands when the mug is hot.
Okay, so you don't burn your hands when the mug is hot.
It helps with
So what are you going to burn otherwise?
your mouth.
Right, because you don't know what.
That's how hot it is.
Right, until you put it in your,
Mouth.
which sucks. Then the rest of your day, you can't taste a thing because you burned all the taste buds off your. I've never quite understood the handle on a mug thing versus having the, you know, reaching out and grabbing the cup, right? Because then you know if it's too hot for my hands, I'm not pouring it into my mouth. It just makes sense to me. But yet Americans will not buy cups without handles on them. I just don't. I don't know
I
why.
don't usually use them. They're there. I just stick my
Am I
Even-
the only one that uses the handle?
I use them. I
I
go
stick it
all the
If
time.
I don't have a
around the
styrofoam
cup,
cup, I use
my
the handle.
fingers through
That's
the
what I
handle.
do.
Yeah.
So I guess,
That's what I
I mean,
do.
it feels more secure that way.
Now, unless it's a particularly comfortable handle, you know.
I hate the ones with the itty bitty tiny little handle that you can get like 2 fingers in.
Or the ones that feel like a rat's tail.
What?
It's like an English teacup.
Well, I've got, okay, well, handle design, I guess, is another good idea to talk about. Isn't that right there? If you had to choose a mug that's perfect, okay, in your head you've got this, it's like a philosophy class, we're just going to do lots of thought experiments. The perfect mug is in your head. Now you have the Platonic ideal of the perfect mug in your head. It's just the right shape, fits your hand. You may have been madly in love with the potter that made it and gave it to you. And it's the right color, it matches your drapes. It fits in the cup holder in your car. You know, everything is perfect. Now, your potter that's your lover has given you this mug. And he hands it to you, or she
Wait,
hands
he's
it to
now turned into the lover from.
we jumped from philosophy to poetry. Anyway, so this mug, I mean, talking about everything's being perfect with this mug, right? So there's more and more reasons to love this mug, right? Now he hands you this mug, or she hands you this mug, and the handle is like this, okay? Or the handle is like this. Is there a difference?
Yeah.
Which is mo better?
The one,
Little ones.
the short one.
This side.
This one.
Yeah, that
Yes.
one.
Let's get the coulometer out. Huh?
So it was a meter.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
So why is that better?
Looks like there's more room for your hand. It's not as long.
Okay.
Looks like it'd be better to pick it up with.
It wouldn't cramp your fingers.
Well, I tried to get the shape very similar.
It's just so,
Half a heart look.
it's just so up.
You're talking about the shape of not this, the shape of the handle, but the shape of what.
Yeah,
The
the
negative
whole
space?
bit. The negative space is they're both kind of half the heart or an ear, however you want to look at it. Now, this is a 2-pound vessel once it's full of
That one would be more.
your 16, your 16 ounces of hot chocolate with 5 pounds of marshmallows in it. And this thing now weighs something, right? So you have this, it's going to give you basically one pressure point. Or you have this that's going to spread that pressure out over, 3/4 of an inch versus just 1 point. Also, I don't know, there's something more tactile about this that I feel like I don't have to, I'm going to just rip it right off.
That one
But
just
there's-
seems more efficient. Like the little one just seems like
Sturdy. It
it's
makes
doing
things
the
more
best
sturdy.
while taking up the least space.
This on this side would definitely be more functional as far as the use of it.
Yeah, I think so. Now this is the way I make handles. This is the way Hall makes handles. I think these are stronger